Hi boys and girls, happy Thursday, last day of April, and then it's going to be May, so you can take your month wheel and you can turn it to the next month because we're going into a new month tomorrow. So today, I'm sure you guys have seen your monster counting activity within your pack, and you've been probably very curious to know what we're going to do with it. So your teeth, I don't know if I left them like this or if I cut them up for you. If I did leave them like this, please cut them up, and so you have a tooth per square, so they'll look like this when you're done. Each of them will have their own. I put Velcro on the back of mine, and there's Velcro on my monsters so that they just don't slip off, but it doesn't really matter. So there's a few ways we can play this game. One way is taking a dice, two dice, because remember, if we want to go up to 10, which we count up to 10 in not every situation, we need 2 dice, but the dice goes up to 12, but we only go up to 10. And if you need, you can have your number line, but you shouldn't need it in this game. So what you're going to do is your monsters are going to be all spread out on the table. You're going to roll the dice, count the dots, 7, find monster number 7. There's my monster number 7, and then I'm going to take the teeth and I'm going to put them on top of my monster, so that my monster has 7 teeth. So every time you put a tooth on your monster, you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And by counting each tooth, boys and girls, by putting your monster's teeth on and by counting each tooth while you do that, you are working on your one-to-one correspondence, and that's what we were working on before the end of the year, before we had to stop school. And that really helps you understand what each number is and what it represents. So when you have 6, you'd put 6 teeth on and you will count 6 teeth. Same with 3, same with 8. So every time you roll the die, now I have 5, because I have 4 and 1, I count it. Find monster number 5, and I put 5 teeth on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's one way we can play the monster game. Another way we can play the monster game is if you want to play it with a sibling. You can play it this way with a sibling too. But another fun way is to set all of your teeth aside and then take your monsters and flip them all upside down. And then all you have to do is, this is the easy way. So the 3-year-olds might like this one a little bit better because it's a little bit easier, but you would just flip it up and you would see what number is that. If you're unsure of this number, that's when you can count. This is called a 10 frame, boys and girls. So that's when you can count each square. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And if you want mom and dad, what they can do is put little tiny dots in each square to represent what this number is, if that will help. And then all you do is take your teeth and you put 9 teeth on this one because you flipped it over. And then from so on, you would just continue to flip your monster up. That's a 4. So you'll put 4 teeth on there. Make sure you're counting each time you're doing that. This is a big one. Double digits, 10. The whole 10 frame needs to be filled up. And you do this until all of your monsters are flipped over. And that's another way we can do it. I like the dice way because then you're seeing, this might be actually the best way to do it, because then you're seeing the dice, you're seeing the dots on the dice, you're counting. This is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You find number 5 on here. And then from seeing those dots, you know that's 5. So you will count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that is probably the best way to practice your one-to-one correspondence and your quantity of sets for your monster boys and girls. It's a fun activity, and you can do this in so many ways that you want. Some of them are laminated, some of them aren't, and if they're not, you can easily slip them into your protective pocket and use a whiteboard marker on them so you can reuse them as much as you want. And then the ones that are laminated, you can just put it right on top of your monster. After this, we are going to read, I have another special fairy tale to read to you, and it is called The Princess and the Pea.
The Princess and the Pea. Prince Donald wanted to marry a princess. He went from kingdom to find himself one. But there was something wrong with each princess he met. You see, Prince Donald only wanted to marry a real princess. Too mean, Prince Donald said about one princess. Someone that mean couldn't possibly be a real princess, Donald thought. Too nice, he said about another. A princess needed to be independent and true to herself. Donald met princesses who were too loud and too quiet. He met a princess so poor she only had one patched dress. He met a princess so rich she bathed in diamonds. None of them would do. None of them was a real princess. Finally, after years of searching, Prince Donald was fed up. He packed up his bags and returned home. At this rate, he said with a sigh, I'll never find a real princess. Some time passed. Prince Donald had nearly given up hope, but one night there was a terrible storm. Lightning flashed in the dark corners of Donald's grand castle. Thunder rattled its fine china plates in the pantry. Rain pounded at the windows. Donald was glad to be inside. As Donald lay by his warm fireplace, he heard a frightful knocking at the door. Who could be in a storm like this? He almost was too scared to find out. Donald crept toward the huge castle door. Who's there? He called nervously. Please let me in, a voice answered. It was a beautiful voice, the voice of a lady. It might even be the voice of a princess. Donald's heart leaped. Could this be the real princess he'd been seeking? In a flash, Prince Donald opened the castle door. A sad sight greeted him. A girl who stood there was soaked through with rain. Her hair was a complete mess. Her dress was torn and muddy, and she was missing a shoe. Who are you? Prince Donald asked. My name is Princess Daisy, the young lady said. You don't look like a princess, Donald replied. Well, I am, Daisy said. In fact, I'm a real princess. Donald didn't think that was likely, but himself was a real prince, and being a real prince meant being polite. So instead of laughing at Daisy, he invited her in. Clapping his hands loudly 3 times, Donald called his nephews to order. This young lady, princess, Daisy interrupted him. This princess was caught in a storm. Donald finished. Hugh, fetch her dry clothes. Dewey, make her a cup of tea, and Louis, run her a hot bath. While everyone was busy, Donald slipped away. He snuck into the guest room and placed a single pea in the bed. Then he stacked 10 mattresses on top of the pea. After that, he tossed 10 feather beds on top of the mattress, just in case. Donald knew that only a real princess would be sense enough to feel the tiny pea through all of that. After Daisy had drunk her tea, had a bath, and changed into a dry nightgown, Donald let her into the guest room. Oh, wonderful, Daisy said. This bed looks as though it will be very soft. And with that, she climbed up the ladder, lay down, and closed her eyes. In the morning, Donald was eating his breakfast when Daisy appeared. Good morning. How did you sleep? He asked, especially curious. Well, Daisy said, rubbing her eyes, I don't mean to complain, but the truth is I did not sleep well at all. That lovely tall bed had an awful lump in it. I was so very uncomfortable that I didn't sleep a wink at all last night. That was the moment Prince Donald knew he had found his real princess. All of the truth was she had found him. Prince Stella and Prince Daisy were married right away, and they lived happily ever after. And to this day, you can still see the P in the Royal Museum. The end.
That's all I have for you today, boys and girls. I hope you had so much fun playing with your monster counting and listening to The Princess in the P. And I will see you tomorrow for the first day of May, which means your first, you can open up your pack, and in your pack you might find a little Mrs. Stang, and I will explain her tomorrow. So I hope you guys have a great day.